हरे
तो
कृष्ण। सुब्बरा प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
प्रवीण प्रभु दंडवत
हरे
प्रणाम।
कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा माँ सुममता जी दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा लीलांद प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु। We'll start
हरे
with
कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna Satyadev Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we'll start with a small prayer. Jai Radha Madhav. Let's me. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihar Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihar Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravadachari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravadachari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Jai Vallabha Girivaradhari Nandana Rajana Ranjana Tiravana Nandana Rajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Kunja Vijana Vallabha Yasodanandana Tiravadachari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Tiravadachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Kunja Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Nandana Rajana Ranjana Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Thank you for coming to the class. Come back to the laptop. So, go friends. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Bhakyam ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदां सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये। नमो ब्रह्मण्याय देवाय गो ब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। परमानंद माधव श्री चैतन्य ईश्वर Yes, yes, Marina Pundari. Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji's Dandot Pranam. Welcome to one more Bhagavatam class on a Saturday morning. So, today we'll be discussing fourth canto, right? The fourth canto, the fourth canto, uh, 4.27, chapter number 4.27. I'm not sure my screen. Hare Krishna, fourth canto, the creation of the fourth order. From this, we'll be discussing 4.27. So, the chapter 4.27 talks about Puranjana's story. So this is we've been talking about the Puranjana story, Puranjani story, and on the 27th chapter is kind of coming to the closure of the whole story. Attacked by Chandavega on the city of King Puranjana, right? So we have this is from 24th chapter to 28th chapter. We talk about the Puranjana story. Um, so so we have completed few sections, right? Few topics on this, and we have come to this point. So on the 24th chapter where it started, because some of you have attended all the chapters, I have not attended all the sessions because the Sunday sessions I could not. So can somebody recap the story that happened so far with the Puranjana and Puranjani? Anybody wants to take a stab at the story that happened so far? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Everybody, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So the stories happened so far. Does somebody wants to recap the story happened so far between Puranjana, Puranjani, and so on and so forth? Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we are not able to hear you in between.
You're not able to hear me in between.
Yeah.
Connection is not. Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
వినిపించట్లేదు ప్రభుజీ.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I think I lost the connection. Something is wrong with the internet today. Can you hear me now? Yes. So we talked about the 24th chapter to 25th chapter. That's what I'm asking. If somebody wants to give some highlights of what happened between the previous chapters. So the whole story is conversation between Narada Muni and who is the other person?
Prachina Barhi.
Prachina Barhi. So what is the story? Who is Prachina Barhi? So Prachin Barhi has come from the same lineage of Dhruva, Prithu Maharaj, and so on and so forth, right? But Prachin Barhi got himself entangled or caught with doing a lot of ritualistic activities, and so without much of compassion. So this is where Narada Muni on his own came and decided to to fix or to correct Prachin Barhe's philosophy. So we talked about the story of so he talks to he starts to tell him the story of Puranjana, and then the Puranjana who met a lady called Puranjani, right? So this is the allegorical explanation of the story, but in reality, who are these two, Puranjana and Puranjani?
Soul and material intelligence.
Exactly. What soul is it? The conditioned soul and material intelligence. So the conditioned soul in material intelligence. These are the two basic things we have to we cannot lose track of. So there are 2-3 things happening in this whole story of Puranjana and Puranjana. So there's a conversation between Narada Muni and Prachin Barhi, and then there's a conversation between Puranjana and Puranjani. So, but as just Vanilla Mataji mentioned, these two are conditioned soul and material intelligence. Conditioned soul and material intelligence at the subtle level. And when you come to the gross level, they are called Puranjana and Puranjani. And Puranjana is compared to the conditioned soul. Puranjani is the intelligence aspect of a person that is more contaminated with the materialistic thinking. Yes. So in the last chapter, in the 26th chapter on Ekadashi day, we have seen Puranjana goes to forest for hunting, and indiscriminately he starts killing animals, which at some point he gets stressed, tired enough, and comes back, and Puranjani is kind of not happy with what happened. And then there's a conversation between Puranjana and Puranjani, and then Puranjani, the intelligence, takes bath, is what it is said in the last shlokas, and waits for the king, and king takes bath and approaches Puranjani. So the taking of bath as shown by Acharyas in their description as the material intelligence turning to spiritual intelligence. Material intelligence turning to spiritual intelligence. This is something we all should follow easily and very clearly. So we all know the whole concept of gross body, subtle body, and the elements that drive the body and so on, drive the thought process. Now, so when does intelligence becomes material, and when does intelligence become spiritual? Can anybody take a stab at it? When does intelligence becomes spiritual, and when does it becomes material?
And when we realize we are not the body, we are the soul.
When we realize we are not the body, we are the soul. Okay. What else? When we realize we are not the body, but we are the soul. That we are talking about at soul level, but we are I'm still talking about intelligence. When does intelligence becomes material intelligence versus starts to become spiritual intelligence.
When we know that it's all material is all temporary.
Material is all temporary. Okay. Somebody else was saying something.
Yeah, when we learn something from scriptures also, we'll get understanding, Prabhuji.
When we learn something from scriptures also, we'll get understanding. So here is the story, right? We have the gross body and then the subtle body. The gross body consists of all the elements, and the gross body is the interface with the materialistic world, right? The gross body sees something, the eye sees something, the ears hear something, and then it sends the information to the mind. Then the mind, if it acts on its own, when I say mind acts on its own, it generates desires, right? It generates desires to satisfy the senses because it's interfacing with the sensory organs. It's interfacing with the karmendriya, jnanendriya, and the elements of the nature. Then it sends that information to intelligence. That's where intelligence comes under. So now what kind of intelligence is the mind receiving when it is coming from the sensory organs? The intelligence, because sensory organs can only bring you, they're interacting with the material world, they can only bring you materialistic desires, and the intelligence starts to become materialistic intelligence. Now the soul is a different entity on its own. The soul is a different entity on its own. Soul has the sat nature, the purity nature. But we're talking here, the Purunj is a conditioned soul. So conditioned soul means something not realizing its original state. So the soul is in conditioned state, it looks towards intelligence for answers. And now the intelligence has been filled with materialistic thought process because that's what it's interacting with. That's the only thing it's listening. Until the soul stops listening to materialistic desires, until the intelligence stops listening to materialistic desires, the intelligence cannot turn to become spiritual intelligence. So when will that happen? When will this happen? Where it will only happen when an explicit understanding is made, saying that the soul is spiritual, soul is different from the rest of the things. Pawan Prabhu in his class, he explained the moksha means the soul detaching the gross body, the soul neglecting intelligence, the soul neglecting material intelligence. The soul doesn't have to neglect intelligence, but the soul has to neglect material intelligence. Why would that happen and when did that happen? When does it happen? That's what we see in the first Sikshashka prayer, Chetodarpanamajyam. So the soul of this whole thing has been conditioned with layers of dust. Only the name of Harinama, only the name of Lord Krishna, or the holy Harinama Sankirtana is only that can make the soul understand what its original nature is. Right? Only that can help understand the soul, what its original nature is. But believe me, Prabhu's and Matajis, doing Harinama Sankirtana with that kind of purity is very hard. Why are we saying it's very hard? Because the material sensory objects don't like it. Sensory objects who are interacting with the materialistic world are not willing to take something that is coming from internal, from the soul, a message coming from the soul. The intelligence is not liking so much a message, a spiritualistic message coming from a pure soul. So the intelligence always has this fight between, whom do I listen to and whom do I not listen. So when the intelligence is tamed, to spiritual understanding, The intelligence is tamed to spiritual understanding. Then it becomes spiritual intelligence, and that can happen only when we work with whatever facilities we have, the facilities that we have are karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. With those facilities, when we realize that we are not the body, we are something pure, we belong to something that's pure, then we start working towards the spiritual, the what you call scriptures, parampara, and take shelter on it and start punishing the sensory outcomes, sensory elements. That is austerity. Punishing the sensory elements is the austerity. Then intelligence will automate knowledge and it follows dharmic path. Right, Prabhuji and Mataji, that's where we left the last session, last class. When in the last class it is shown, so the same Puranjani, who was totally controlling the king, and the king became restless and he went to hunting and he came back. The Puranjani now has decided to take a dharmic path. In the purports, it's mentioned, mother is mentioned as a devotional path and wife is mentioned as the dharmic path. Right? So again, the whole story of wife and husband or Puranjani is for us, the Grihasthas, or Prachin Barhi as a Grihastha, for him to understand the necessity things that are actually required to take a spiritual path just beyond performing yajnas. Right? So what is that is needed is the soul transformation, the heart transformation, rather than ritualistic activities. So what do we do? So intelligence cannot exist on its own. Okay, right? So intelligence requires inputs from either this side of the spectrum or that side of the spectrum. When we are being able to get from a purified soul, a purified soul can actually get information from another Puranjan who is living in the human body, another Puranjan who is living in any body. That's the super soul. When Puranjana, the Atma then starts to listen to the other Puranjana in the body, that's the super soul, then intelligence starts to become spiritual intelligence, and then karmendriyas and jnanendriyas starts to listen to spiritual intelligence. Right? So that's the allegorical way of explaining the whole story. So then we stopped at dharma. So we said now Puranjani is actually shown as an element of sex because it's a lot more easier to understand for a grihastha those elements, and even more that is more a lusty thing is what if a material intelligence is compared to. So it is actually degrading the spiritual position of material intelligence by comparing it with to lack of words, raw body satisfaction, raw human body satisfaction. That's how it's compared to at a very gross level. So then we left at the dharma discussion. So people, now the intelligence has become from material to little bit of spiritual or the dharmic intelligence. So what does dharmic intelligence do? Dharmic intelligence in a grihastha life, what does dharmic intelligence do? Dharmic intelligence helps a grihastha go and get some money for artha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So this is generally the path of a grihastha. So that dharmic intelligence helps him get dharmic artha, required economical support to lead the family to fulfill his desires. When the desires are not fulfilled, in most cases, when the desires are not fulfilled, then you are actually looking at moksha. If all your desires are fulfilled, then you are not looking at moksha. And desires are not going to be fulfilled when you are going to do a dharmic ardik way. If you are looking for an economical progress in a dharmic way, it's never going to fulfill all your desires. And then you are inclining towards the moksha mark. So what does it mean? Again, we are looking to the analogy of a male female. So a female cannot 100% satisfy all your desires, and at some point you get you get yourself rejected of the activities you are doing, and then you'll start searching for something more. These two things should go in hand, but again within the framework of dharma. A dharma that is guided by the scriptures. That's the path to moksha. If that dharma is not guided by the scriptures, if dharma is not guided by the scriptures, see, when you do an act, it comes into three categories. Either it is vikarma, or karma, or akarma. When does it become vikarma? We are not following dharma. When does it become akarma? When it does it become karma? When you're just following a dharmic activity and you're performing all your karmas. When does it become akarma? When you realize that the dharmic activity has to be a spiritual dharmic activity. And the dharmic activities, materialistic dharmic activities, it becomes a karma, which still puts you back into the cycle of life and death. But when the dharmic activity is filled with God-centric, only then it becomes a karma. That should be the combination of soul and intelligence. The combination of soul and intelligence should work towards an akarma, which means it is to be a spiritual dharmic activity. That should be the role of a male-female union. It has to be a spiritual dharmic activity. Only then it becomes akarma. Otherwise, it simply becomes karma or vikarma that puts you into the same 14 planetary systems. Abrahma bhona loka puraravartino Arjuna. So the whole thing is limiting yourself to vikarma and karma. When does it become akarma? Mamupetyetu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. Right? Only when you put that God-centric activity to the combination of male-female, the combination of soul intelligence. Here, Prabhuji and Matas are understanding the different layers of the story, the allegorical story. That's how it is being moving forward. Or any questions still here? Hare Krishna, can you guys hear me? Sorry, I'm not even asking for a feedback anytime.
We are hearing. Yeah, we are able to hear you, Prabhuji.
Any questions so far?
No, Prabhuji.
No. That means nothing is clear. If it's not interactive, I have a problem of going forward. Hare Krishna. Anybody? So it is important we put ourselves in this path, right? So I want to tell you a small story or thing that happened when I was in my school time. So in my school time, that's the last day. That's the last day of 12th class. We are getting out of the campus, basically, the residential school, boys' residential school. It is it's like, at 10 o'clock, we're all leaving, and at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, the principal brought all of us, and he was talking to us. So in few hours, you're going to enter the outside world. Why I'm saying this is, it's a residential school, boys' residential school, where most of us have never interacted with girls, where most of us have never interacted with the outside world. So in a span of 10 years, probably we came out of the campus for about 20 to 30 times, basically. That's how the school was, basically. So he was saying, like, you are soon going to discover how the world works. You are soon going to discover how the world works. Now that you're getting out of the campus, you are soon going to discover how the world works. And you should think of two things. Keep in mind, your birth is not because of some two people, some male and female, wanted to have some fun, and you are born because of that. You should never think of that, think your life as that. As you discover how the world works, you should also what do you call it, work towards finding what your position in that life means, what the purpose of your life means in the whole scheme of bigger things. So we were all taken back. Suddenly, principal, he never spoke about anything about this. Like, he can continue to explain. Biology can only explain so much about how it works, but it can never explain the philosophy of why it works and the purpose of life. It only can explain you how the life comes. So at that point of time, those words were too little heavier for us to handle. But when I'm reading this Puranjana story, I thought this is what exactly is referring. The way the male female union should happen with the purpose of life. The purpose of life means understanding the bigger goal in life that takes you out of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi cycle, basically, right? So we have come to a point where Puranjana and Puranjani have what do you call it? Come to a dharmic way of doing things, basically. But what still left in this chapter we'll go through. I mean, what still left in the story that we'll go through in the next from the beginning of this chapter, right? So let me open the chapter 27. What I open? Canto 4, chapter 27. So attacked by Chandavega on the city of King Puranjana and the character of Kalakanya. So who are these characters? We are getting to know two new people are coming and attacking the kingdom of the King Puranjana, not the kingdom, the King Puranjana. The King Puranjana is again a Puranjana means what? A Puram means city, Jana means life. The life. City with life is nothing but the human body. So let's start going through some of the sloka translation. The great says Narada continued, my dear king, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, intelligence is bringing the soul under its control. The wife, King Puranjana, gave all satisfaction and enjoyed sex life with him. Okay, so then now here this is again the dharmic way of bringing soul under control. The Puranjani has brought the king under his control in a dharmic way. Then the queen took her bath and dressed herself nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and becoming completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive face, the king welcomed her with all devotion. Hare Krishna, if somebody wants to read the translation number 3.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Satyadev Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Text number 3. Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. In this way, in a solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. Thus, King Puranjana became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit.
Hare Krishna. His span of life being reduced without profit. So what should be the profit here, Prabhujis and Matajis? What kind of profit are we talking about?
Spiritual enlightenment.
Spiritual enlightenment. So what happens now? You're following dharma. This is what Prachin Barhi is doing. He's following dharma, but there is no transformation. life is going without any purpose. So you're still back in the Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi cycle. Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. Is the relation between the intelligence is taking control over your soul, and the soul is responding in a proper, nicely way. In this way, in solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. They think they're doing perfectly nice thing, but they're doing dharmic activity. They're doing everything nice. So the King Puranjana became very much captivated. The King Puranjana, the soul is now enjoying the intelligence, the material intelligence that is filled with dharmic activities by his beautiful wife, and deviated from his good sense. Deviated from his good sense means deviating from our fundamentals of the soul nature, the sat guna of soul. He forgot that the passing days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit. You're doing everything right, nice, but no use. This is pretty much doing in Sattva-guna activity. So dharmic activity is Sattva-guna activity. You have come from Tamoguna activity to Sattvic activity, but not to the Suddha Sattvic activity. In this way, increasingly overwhelmed by illusion, King Puranjana, although advanced in consciousness, King Puranjana, again the soul, although advanced in consciousness, remained always lying down with his head on a pillow of his wife's arms, totally controlled by the material intelligence. So in this way, he considered woman to be his ultimate life and soul. So that sense gratification in a dharmic way is what all life is about, is what the soul is thinking. Becoming thus overwhelmed by the mode of ignorance, he could not understand the meaning of self-realization, whether regarding his own self or the supreme personality of Godhead. So he has not thought about what is the purpose of his life. Then he has not come to a point where he's not even looking at the Paramatma aspect of life. As the story continues, in the 29th chapter, 30th chapter, the Paramatma appears in front of the Puranjana in Puranjana's next lifetime as a female, and then Paramatma talks to that person, Puranjana, and then there's a conversation from where the transformation happens. That is next in the next few classes, I guess we'll see that. My dear king, my dear king Prachin Varshi, in this way, King Puranjana, with his heart full of lust and sinful reactions, why is it called sinful reaction? If it is not useful, if you have no profit in the activity, it is a sinful reaction. Began enjoying sex with his wife, so just general following the rules of dharma, and in this way his new life and youth expired in half a moment. Before you realize, the youth has gone out of your body, right? So the first five slokas explains us the attachment to the queen and how he forgot the ultimate goal of life. And the sixth sloka talks about how his youth has passed in lust. So his youth passed in kama, the desires basically. So the soul is totally entangled with the material intelligence. The great says Narada then addressed King Prashin Varshi, oh one whose lifespan is great, Virat. In this way, King Puranjana begot 1100 sons within the womb of his wife Puranjani. However, in this business, he passed away half his lifespan. So in the process, more than half of his lifespan has passed away. This is the story of a majority of the people who think they are leading a very dharmic life. Right, Prabhu and Matas, agree or not? Yes. So this is what we think, I'm doing the right things. I'm doing the most intelligent things. I'm following the Shastra. I'm following the Dharma. But you're not actually punishing the sensory elements and then trying to purify the dust that is covering the soul. Until that happens, until the instructions comes from inside out, nothing is going to change. Right? Hare Krishna. Who wants to read 7 and 8?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read.
Yes,
Text
Amma,
7.
Thank you.
O Prajapati, King Prachina Barahisa. In this way, King Puranjana also begot 110 daughters. All of these were equally glorified like the father and mother. Their behavior was gentle and they possessed magnanimity and other good qualities. Text 8. After this, King Puranjana, king of Panchala country, in order to increase the descendants of his paternal family, married his sons with qualified wives and married his daughters with qualified husbands.
This is what again Narad Muni is explaining Prachinavali. In this way, Puranjana also got so many daughters. All of them are equally glorified like the father and mother. Both of them are very nice people. Their behavior was gentle. So again, as long as they are people are the people, these are the people who are all following dharma. The Puranjana and Puranjani, the soul and intelligence are doing their activities and are creating acts of progeny, are creating karmic activities. Some karma is coming out of them, and they're all good karma. But what is missing is the God aspect of it. After this, King Puranjana and King of Panchala country, in order to increase the descendants of, so again, this is all more desires, wanted to do more things for your family, you want to do more things for your children. You want to make sure they're all well settled, and married his sons with qualified wives and married his daughters with qualified husbands. Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, whole city of Panchala became overcrowded by the sons and grandsons of King Puranjana. See, the soul, when it is not doing the God-centric activity, you are creating a lot of things which are of no profit, which are of no use, basically. These sons and grandsons are virtually plunderers of King Puranjana's riches, including his home, treasury, servants, secretaries, and all other paraphernalia. Puranjana's attachment for all these things was very deep-rooted. So this is what is going to happen. So when the soul is connected with the materialistic dharmic intelligence, the soul is only getting deep rooted to the products or byproducts that are coming out of that particular union. And this is the state of majority of us, majority of the world. I'm not saying majority of Vaishnavas, but majority of the world, right? So then his relationship, his attachments for these things was very deep rooted. The great says Narada continued, O dear King Prachin Barhi, like you, King Puranjana also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped demigods, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices, which were all very ghastly because they were inspired by the desire to kill animals. So what is happening here? Dharma, for in Prachin Barhi case, Dharma took a wrong path. What does that mean? Dharma took a wrong path. So he is doing sacrifices to please gods versus he is doing sacrifice to desire to kill animals. So we have seen Puranjana's desire to kill animals randomly in the forest. So Narada Muni is telling about the story of Puranjana, who desired to kill animals on his own. Is nothing similar to what you are doing in the name of Yajna. Puranjana killed all those animals without the proper knowledge of Dharma, and you are also doing the same. And all these animals are actually waiting for you. Prachinabhari, these animals are waiting for you because you have done these yajnas without proper compassion. It's better not to do this yajna because you are behaving like this Puranjani or Puranjana who are just getting attached to their activities, and your worship is similar to that. You're simply worshipping the demigods, forefathers, and social leaders, and then you're performing all these activities with the desire to kill animal, and all these animals are actually waiting. When will you leave your body, and when that karma is going to come and attack you? So here, Prachin Barhi is thinking he's doing everything dharmic, and he's a great soul. He's come from the same lineage of Dhruva, Prithu Maharaj, and so on and so forth. And he lost the compassion aspect of performing his yajnas. He lost the compassion aspect or the conscious aspect of performing his austerities. So Prabhuji and Mataji, when we are doing austerity and if we lose the compassion aspect of it or the consciousness aspect of it, then our life is no much different from Prachin Barhi's life or Puranjana's life, where we have done so many activities without profit. Not only doing without profit, you're probably doing it at a loss of buying another lifetime. In the name of
recording in progress.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So this is something we should all understand very carefully. Thus, King Puranjana being attached to fruitive activities, karma kanda, as well as kith and kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrived at a point not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things. So the transformation is starting to happen, right? So actually, in this particular yatra, I mean, most of you have come to Puri Yatra. Maharaj's focus has all in all the sessions it has been only about consciousness. It's not nothing else, really about consciousness. So I know that's my observation. I don't know how others have felt in their understanding of these lectures or their realizations of these lectures. It is understanding Krishna's mood, it is understanding Jagannath's mood, it is understanding Radharani's mood, it is understanding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood, it is understanding Guru Maharaj's mood. That's what this whole yatra was all about, is what I felt. It is things that you have to do to elevate your consciousness. No, it is understanding that you have to elevate your consciousness has to be the first step. Then think of things that you have to do to elevate your consciousness. This particular story, Puranjana's story, is more about certain negativity or comparing lots of negativity. Again, this reminds me of one more saying that one of my teachers used to say: if you get a chance to read a book on how to pickpocket, I still want you to advise you to read, not because I want you to become a pickpocketer, but only to avoid your pocket being picked. It's like this. We need to understand Puranjani's story only to make sure we are not getting lost in this particular lifetime in the same way as Prachin Barhi is lost or as Puranjana is lost. Okay. Right? Thus King Puranjana being attached to fruitivity activities of the karma kanya as well as kith and kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrived at that point not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things. O king, in Gandharvaloka, there is a king named Chandavega. Vega. So the word Vega is there, right? Under him, there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers. What is this Chandavega? Right? Anybody? Any idea what this Vega means? Chandavega? So, Chandavega is the time factor. Right? The life has the gods, one of God's energy is the time factor. The time factor is what here Narada Muni is talking about. O king, in Gandharva Loka, there is a king called Chandavega. Under him, there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers. Who are these 360 powerful Gandharva soldiers? These are the 360 days in our own life, in a year, basically, right? And along with Gandharvas were as many female Gandharvis as there were soldiers, and all of them repetitively plundered all the paraphernalia for sense enjoyment. You have so many days and so many nights. So the Gandharvis, the combination of 720, 360 pairs is what you have for as your tools. Time is also a weapon or a tool in your own hand. And when you don't use in a proper way, if you don't use in a proper way, how much dharmic life you are leading, then you're going to get lost in it. Basically, that's what here the Narada Muni is saying, talking about the Chandavega. Chandavega is the time, and Gandharva's king and his 360 powerful male and female soldiers, the day and night, came to city for plundering. So who are they fighting with? Who are they fighting with? Then we'll see. Along with the Chandavegas were as many female Gandharvis, and as there were soldiers, and all of them repeatedly plundered all the paraphernalia for sense enjoyment. And then in the 15th shloka, we are saying, when the king Gandharva Raja or Chandavega and his followers began to plunder the city of Puranjana, a snake with 5 hoods began to defend the city. Hare Krishna. What city are we talking about here? The Puranjana city. There is nothing called Puranjana as a city. The Puranjana city is nothing but your own body, right? Your own body is being impacted by time factor, and the time factor is nothing is ruled by a Gandharva Raja called Chandavega, and he has so many disciples or followers called in the form of day and night that are in the form of day and night are making you to are encouraging you to know are making your sensory object elements to satisfy themselves, and in the process days and nights are passing away, and then as days and nights are passing away and you are not doing certain things, see the time aspect is not in your life, in your hands. Basically it just takes away elements of life. So what is the life aspect? So but the Puranjana also has a 5-hooded serpent, a snake that is going to defend itself from this Chandavega and this Gandharvas and Gandharvis. The 5-hooded serpent is nothing but the 5 elements of pranavaya. The five pranavayu and other vayus that are in human body is nothing but the 5 elements. So this is what is constantly fighting for fighting with time. With time, the decay happens. With decay, when the decay happens, the so-called materialistic body decays, and these 5 elements are trying to keep the body together against time, basically. So the 5-hooded serpent, the superintendent and protector of the city of Puranjana, is basically the oxygen factor or the pranavayu, basically fought with the Gandharvas for 100 years. He fought alone with all of them, although they numbered 720. So you are constantly fighting with this Gandharva and Gandharvis for your lifetime. In Kali Yuga, lifetime is only 100 years, so this is considered as 100 years basically. So you've been fighting with this time factor that are acting against your materialistic body. Because he had to fight alone with so many soldiers, all of whom were great warriors, the serpent with 5 hoods becomes very weak. Seeing that the most intimate friend was weakening, King Puranjana and his friends and citizens living within the city all have become very anxious. So who are all the friends? Who are all the friends that are in the body? And who are the citizens of the city? At this point, we said that the whole King Puranjana city is filled with his own products, his own desires, his own results of his own desires. The children, grandchildren, they're all becoming very anxious. All your properties that you have earned with your intelligence, all the children that you have given birth to, and all the grandchildren you have given birth to, all the name and fame you have earned, all of them, they're all becoming very anxious because your life is under the elements that you have, the 5-hooded serpent, the life in your body is not able to fight with time. Over time, you're decaying. So all these things are becoming anxious. So your insurance, your health insurance, your life insurance, and all these things that you have established out of desire to live long and desire to satisfy more and more of dharmic act. It can still be dharmic activity, but they're all becoming anxious. Then King Puranjana collected taxes in the city known as Panchala, and thus was able to engage in sexual indulgence, but completely under the control of women. He could not understand that his life was passing away and that he was reaching the point of death. So when the material intelligence, so what happens is when once you are in the downward spiral, once you're in the downward spiral, what is downward spiral? A spiral looking for satisfaction, looking for uh, soul satisfaction, false ego soul satisfaction in materialistic world. You get into a downward spiral. That is what we call Maya. Maya is not Maya is in itself a concept which is not pushing you away from God, but which starts acting on you when you are away from God. Right? So why does it happen is because his soul is listening to materialistic intelligence. The soul is conditioned and it's listening to materialistic intelligence. And the only way to get out of it is the soul has to take shelter in a guru parampara, a shastra. Right? So again, conditioned soul. What is conditioned soul? Sometimes a dharmic conditioned soul. A dharmic conditioned soul. So what is dharmic conditioned soul? For example, like if you take, this is the right thing to do, but you don't want to do because even though it is something to do, but you are afraid of the consequences. You are thinking that you're though by doing so you're creating some other problem, right? By doing so you're creating some other problem, or you're justifying yourself not doing so by giving some pseudo solution, pseudo dharmic explanation. Have you guys seen such things in life? Right? Have we seen such things in life? Or am I speaking hypothetical things? Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the case of Arjuna, right? He knows the people standing opposite are not the right people. He knows he has to fight. He knows he has to kill. But he thinks by killing so, he's actually doing more sins. And he's now starting to justify. If you look at it, the justification of Arjuna is perfectly fine. It all sounds wonderful. It all sounds very dharmic. But what is missing? What is missing there is the consciousness, the God consciousness, the compassion part of doing karma with God-centric dharma. Doing karma with God-centric dharma. And so then the solution for Arjuna there was the whole Gita, right? So that's exactly what we all need. Otherwise, the soul will start coming down into a downward spiral. And what happens? Then what happens to King Puranjana? King Puranjana went back into engaging himself in more sexual activities to get some satisfaction. Then this is what happens to soul. It gets bound by more materialistic intelligence, and you get into other activities like drugs and so on and so forth. My dear King Prachin Barhi, at this time, the daughter of the formidable time, the who is the formidable time here? The Chandavega has a daughter. The Chandavega has a daughter. Time was seeking her husband throughout the three worlds, although no one agreed to accept her. So she came here. So Chandavega has a daughter. What kind of daughter can time have? What kind of things can time do in a materialistic world? Time only decays things in materialistic world. right? Time is the root cause for Jara, Janma Mrityu Jara, the old age. And that old age is personified as the daughter of this king. And the formidable time has a daughter called old age who sets everything to, whose nature is bringing decay in everything and anything. And she wanted to get married to somebody. Who wants to marry something that is always decaying? Right? So in the three worlds, the time is searching for the right suitable companion. Then the daughter of time Zara was very unfortunate. Consequently, she was known as Durbhaga, ill-fated, Durbhaga. However, she was once pleased with a great king, and because the king accepted her, she granted him a great benediction. When I once come to this earth from Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system, the daughter of the time, wandering over the universe, met me. So the time, because the time has a benediction, the daughter, the Zara has a benediction, and she wants to marry somebody, and she thought she would marry Narada Muni, because knowing me to be a word brahmachari, she became lusty and proposed that I accept her. She came and wanted to marry Narada Muni, and then the Narada continued. When I refused to accept her request, she became very angry at me and cursed me severely because I refused her request. She said that I would not be able to stay in one place for a long time. So you understand why Narada Muni became a wanderer, because he was cursed by this Zara, this lady, daughter of this daughter of Chandavega, the decay factor of the oldest factor of the demigod, basically has cursed Narada, and Narada then onwards became a wanderer. The great says Narada continued, when I refused to accept her request, she became very angry at me and cursed me severely because I refused her request. She said that I would not be able to stay in one place for a long time. After she was thus disappointed by me, with my permission, she approached the king of uh, Yavanas, whose name was Bhaya or fear, and she accepted him as her husband. So what happened? What happened? So this um, this lady, then this lady went and married Bhaya. So what happens? Once as old age approaches, what happens to us? What happens to us? We all get a fear, the fear of death. Right? There are three aspects here. One is old age, the second aspect is fear, the third aspect is death. Can you avoid old age? No. Can you avoid death? No. Can you avoid fear? Probably yes. Yes or no? The only thing that you can avoid in this triangular equation, the old age, the death, and fear is the fear aspect of it. If we can conquer the fear aspect of it, then we don't have to worry about old age, or we don't have to worry about the death. Approaching the king of Yavanas, Kalakanya addressed him as a great hero, saying, "My dear sir, you are the best of the untouchables. I'm in love with you, and I want you as my husband. I know that no one is baffled if he makes friends with you." So, if you can make friends with Bhaya, nobody is baffled. So you're not going. You don't have to be worrying about how do you make friends with Bhaya. How do you make friends with Bhaya? Prabhus and Matasis, how can you make friends with Bhaya? How can we make friends, Prabhujis and Matajis? With the fear factor? Akinchan Prabhu?
Not sure, Guruji, but maybe thinking more about future or being conscious about future and all that will create security, future and all that will create Maya.
So for example, how you are you in Tamoguna or Satoguna? So people take different aspects to fight fear factor. We locked ourselves to what do you call to defeat the fear factor. Did we all not do that during COVID? We locked ourselves just to defeat the fear factor, right? What did Hiranyakashipu do to defeat the fear factor? What did Hiranyakashipu do to defeat the fear factor of death? He did tapasya and he got boon to that he'll not be killed by this, he'll not be killed by that, he'll not be killed by this, he'll not be killed by that, and also and so. What did Ravana do? This is all Tamoguna way of defeating fear factor. Then how did Prahlad defeat fear factor?
Taking shelter of Krishna.
Absolutely, by taking shelter of Krishna. By taking shelter of Krishna. That's the only way you can defeat the fear factor. Nothing else. By taking shelter of Krishna. If you look at the Prahlad story, okay, at least if you look at the stories that we see, Prahlad says to his mother says, he asks him, why are you so this thing, it's fixed on doing Harinama and your father wants to kill you. And Prahlad says, my father is not killing me. He's actually removing my bondages of life. He's being merciful to me. He's removing me with the bondages of materialistic life at a very early age. I should be thankful to him. I'm not fearing death because the releasing of the soul will be only going to the take shelter of the God. That's the only way we can fight the fear factor. When that's the Suddha Sattva guna of fighting the fear factor, basically. Right? So then the 25th. So I know that no one is baffled if he makes friends with you. One who does not give charity according to the customs and injunctions of the scriptures, and one who does not accept charity in that way are considered to be the mode of ignorance. Such persons follow the path of foolish. Surely they must lament at the end. So when you are trying to defeat fear in the mode of ignorance, you do lament it at the end. Kalakanya continued, O gentle one, I am now present before you to serve you. Please accept me and thus show me mercy. It's a gentleman's greatest duty to be compassionate upon a person who is distressed. So Kalakanya is taking shelter of Bhaya, saying that hey, Kalakanya in the female form has come and Bhaya has given the support or Abhayasta to take care, to let Kalakanya take the shelter under Bhaya. So these two things go hand in hand. That's the fear factor. That's the money generator for insurance companies, right? If you go and talk to an LIC person or an insurance officer, you feel like you're more beneficial if you die than live, right? That is what the fear factor is. See, in all honesty, we are not much different from Hiranyakashipu, Ravanasura trying to take this medicine, that medicine to live death, to defeat death and live longer. Basically, that's what we are doing, really. Unless we take shelter under Krishna, or unless we take shelter under the Lord Krishna. So you can come back and ask me, sir, are we not supposed to take a BP tablet, cholesterol tablet, so that our life is peaceful? Yes, it is. You can take, and as long as that life is expanding, means is being used for Krishna consciousness, is being used for taking another person, the shelter that you thought is what is helping you to defeat fear factor. Otherwise, it is a useless profit is what you are working towards. It can help, it can actually put you back into downward spiral. Right? After hearing the statement of Kalakanya, the daughter of time, the king of Yavanas began to smile and devise a means for executing his confidential duty on behalf of Providence. He then addressed Kalakanya as follows. The king of Yavanas replied, after much consideration, I have arrived at a husband at a husband for you. Actually, as far as everyone is concerned, you are inauspicious and mischievous. Since no one likes you, how can anyone accept you as his wife? Again, the 29th shloka. This world is product of fruitive activities. Therefore, you may imperceptibly attack people in general. Help by my soldiers, you can kill them without opposition. So the fear factor The Bhaya also has its own soldiers. And now, so the time factor, the Kalakanya, the product of time factor, the resultant of time factor, and when it comes in conjunction with fear factor, the materialistic body, when materialistic body made up of materialistic intelligence, body driven by material intelligence has to suffer. The king of Yavanas continued, here is my brother, uh, Prajvara. Who is Prajvara? I now accept you as my sister. I shall employ both of you as well as my dangerous soldiers to act imperceptibly within this world. What is Prajvara? Prajvara is Zwara. Zwara. The root word is Zwara. Prajvara means fever. As the body decays, as the five serpents fail to fight with the time factor, you are going to get sick, you're going to get fever, and then as you get fever, the fear factor increases, and as the fear factor increases, the Kalakanya enjoys, as Kalakanya enjoys, the Zwara only takes you closer to Yamaraja. The Zwara only takes you closer to Bhaya. But if you have defeated the Bhaya, then you are keeping yourself away from Yamaraja. So this is the story of Puranjana and Puranjani. This is the story of a conditioned soul in association with materialistic intelligence when not done properly under a Suddha Sattva Guna. This is the story of every human being. This is the story of anybody, whether he's in mode of goodness, his mode of ignorance, or his mode of passion. But depending on his own surrender to materialistic intelligence, his life, his karma, akarma, karma depends. Hare Krishna. That's more about this chapter. We have not read through any shlokas. But I thought at least now instead of if we start reading shlokas, we're going to break the chapter into two. So instead of breaking it into two, I want to complete the chapter today. That's one reason. And second reason, also, I'm actually fighting both these things. I guess I'm right now became sick after coming from the yatra, so I'm in the Prajvara this thing. So I didn't have a lot of time to prepare as well, Professor Mataji. So this is what this whole story of Puranjana and Puranjani and how we need to take it up practically within our own lives. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any questions, any reflections?
Thank you very much, sir, for wonderful tips.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the chapter.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So do we want to close the class?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, if there are no questions, we can conclude.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandot Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandas Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Subbarao Prabhuji.
Hare Ram. Hare Krishna.